Welcome back to the channel, and this video is back in Europe, and this time Luxembourg will be forming an empire. So how is this small country supposed to form an empire? So there was the news that Belgium was gonna split into Flanders going to the Netherlands, and Wallonia going to the French. So in this scenario, we'll be doing that. So, I'm not exactly positive on how it'll be split, but I am imagining that it'll be like this. So, the French is starting to move their troops into Wallonia, while the Dutch are moving their troops to Flanders. So by this, Luxembourg decides to take the advantage and starts to go into Belgium in both Wallonia and Flanders. So they decided to take a little bit of their territory, leaving the French and the Dutch a little bit mad of what they did, but they still do it anyways. So with this, Luxembourg grew, and with the troops are still moving in, so now the Dutch has claimed their territory, and finally meeting up with their exclave, if I can do this, finally, and the French get to their claim. But since Luxembourg is a very small country, they decide to be okay with it. Since it could get a little bit bigger, since it was very small. So now Luxembourg is starting to be more noticeable. But they decide that this is not enough land. So they look over to Germany. They would realize that they would get destroyed. So instead of declaring war on Germany now, they would go over to Bavaria and start funding separatist movements. And then eventually, Bavaria declares independence from Germany. And then Germany gets mad on this. So Germany and Bavaria starts having a civil war, because then it'll lead to separatist movements somewhere over here. And speaking of that, another separatist movement happens, and this one is pro-Danish. They want to be a part of Denmark. So a little bit more separatist movements happens, this time near the Netherlands, being pro-Dutch. And then another one happens. I don't know what this one could be. And then one more happens. And this one is the pro-Polish movement. So Luxembourg decides to become allies with these separatists. And so they all declare war on Germany. So, with the German troops mostly in trying to get back at Bavaria, they would have a big advantage. Some troops would go into the pro-Polish and pro-whatever country this is. I guess French. So then, they would, since almost all of the German troops are fighting with Bavaria, they have these northern parts have the advantage, and try to go as much as they can. The pro-Dutch decides to go down and link up with Luxembourg, and then so the Luxembourg goes over here, connecting with the German army, and then they do get destroyed. since they don't have that much manpower. But in the northern separatists, they do go over here, manage to capture Berlin, and then eventually the German government will become very weak in holding these countries. So then eventually Germany falls, making the German troops retreat to their territory. Making them retreat to their territory and leaving the pro-separatists alone. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty, and just a few minutes of Luxembourg deciding to go imperial. They already have a lot of land, and so Bavaria becomes independent. This part of the separatists decides to go over to French and to Swiss. And the Dutch gets a little bit of, they get a little bit of northern Germany, while the Danish annexes the Danish separatists, while this part goes over to Poland with the Polish separatists. So now, they kind of do have good relationships with everyone else, but they do need coastal access. So they go over to Denmark asking for this part of their territory, but then the Danish refuse. So they declare war. If I could get it all. So eventually the people in Luxembourg decide to storm up into Denmark before they could fully mobilize. They captured the mainland and then eventually island hop to Copenhagen, eventually capturing it. So that was a very short war, but the Netherlands decided to declare war on Luxembourg on behalf of, if I could get it. But the Netherlands decided to declare war on Luxembourg on the aid to the to Denmark. So with the Luxembourg troops mostly in Copenhagen, the Netherlands storms into Luxembourg, taking over their capital, but they don't surrender. With Bavaria, an ally of Luxembourg, they hold off the Netherlands, regaining their ground, eventually getting their territory back. And then since the Luxembourg, I don't know what their people are called, but they do come back, eventually kicking them out of their territory. And then eventually they march into their German territory and then start a campaign in the Flanders area. And then soon they capture Amsterdam and they decide to go to a peace talk in Paris. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty, and Luxembourg fully annexes Denmark and the Netherlands. So this time they go over to Poland and ask for an ultimatum. And then they are asking for a small part of Poland of their separatists, but they only want this part. So Poland decides to give up that territory over to Luxembourg, not declaring war. So whenever Luxembourg annexes that part, they decided to declare war on the Czech Republic. So with the Luxembourg troops declaring on the Czech Republic, and with Bavarian troops are already getting ready at their border, they march in, and then soon Prague is being threatened. So as they march in there, and then eventually Prague falls, and then the Czech Republic surrenders. So here's the peace treaty with the Czech Republic. So Bavaria annexes a little bit of Czechia, and while Luxembourg annexes the rest of Czechia. So they say, while we're here next to the border, we might as well declare war on Slovakia and Austria, and that's what happens. So, with some Bavarian troops entering Austria, cutting them off from their panhandle, then this part falls over to Bavaria, and then soon Luxembourg's troops start entering Slovakia, connecting to one big front line. Then they cut each other in half, and then eventually they capture Vienna, making Austria surrender. And then eventually, so then after eventually, they would, I do not know where Slovakia's capital is. I should probably check on that. But while they're storming in, a few months later, Slovakia capitulates. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty with Austria and Slovakia. Bavaria annexes the majority of Austria while giving some land of Austria, including Vienna, over to Luxembourg, and while Luxembourg annexes Slovakia. So Luxembourg doesn't have any more plans on invading someone. Wait. Okay, that's interesting. I think Poland should go next. Okay, so Luxembourg declares war on Poland. And it just begins as a normal invasion. They take over their separatist parts, and they just take more. Eventually, Poland barely has any coasts, and they start invading from the south. And that's just starting to look familiar. Oh dang, that's interesting. Huh. Okay, they met up with Luxembourg. They took over Poland's coast. Okay. I think we know where this is going. Oh, here comes the Luxembourg troops. Okay. I guess they cannot escape anywhere. Okay, and here comes the Russians. This is very interesting. Here comes more Luxembourg people. Oh, okay, they entered Warsaw. And that happened. I guess we should look at the peace treaty. Okay, so Poland got split again, leaving the Baltics surrounded by Russian control. At least Kaliningrad got connected. So I guess this is the Luxembourg Empire. Oh, okay, I guess the Baltics got annexed. Wait, Ukraine, Moldova? The Caucasus? Wait, the USSR? Oh, I guess he came back. But this is the Luxembourg Empire with one ally, and that's just Bavaria. So hopefully you all liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one.